The house was silent. Too silent. It was exactly 10:14 p.m. when she opened the refrigerator. Not fully. Just enough. Her hands moved carefully, like she had done this 100 times before. A piece of bread. A small container. Nothing that would ever be noticed. She wrapped it quickly and slipped it inside her coat. But tonight, she wasn't alone. From the dark hallway, someone was watching. Still. Silent. Calculating. His own maid. Stealing from his kitchen. For a moment, he said nothing. No anger. No confrontation. Just one decision. Tonight, he would follow her. Because something about this didn't feel like theft. It felt planned. And what he discovered that night changed everything. His name was Adrian Vale. A self-made billionaire. The kind of man who didn't believe in luck, only control. Every detail of his life was measured. Every expense tracked. Every system optimized. In his world, nothing went unnoticed. Not a delayed payment. Not a missing file. And definitely not missing food. At first, it was small. A piece of bread. A little rice. Something so insignificant, most people wouldn't even think about it. But Adrian wasn't most people. He noticed patterns. And this was a pattern. The kitchen inventory didn't lie. Something was being taken, slowly, carefully, like someone knew exactly how far they could go without being caught. And that's when he started watching. Not openly. Not directly. Just small things. The way she moved. The timing. The silence. Mabel. She had been working in his house for 5 years. Quiet. Efficient. Invisible. The kind of person you forget is even there. But now, she was the only person he could see. For 3 nights, he observed. For 3 nights, he confirmed. And on the 4th night, Adrian Vale made a decision. No confrontation. No accusations. Just the truth. Tonight, he would follow her. The night air was cold. Quiet, but not empty. Mabel stepped out of the back door, her coat pulled tight around her, her movements calm, practiced. She didn't look back. Not once. From a distance. Adrian followed. 3 blocks behind. Far enough to stay hidden. Close enough to never lose her. Streetlights flickered above empty roads. Shadows stretched across the pavement. Every step she took felt intentional. No hesitation. No confusion. Like she had walked this path hundreds of times before. Adrian's mind raced. This wasn't random. This wasn't desperation. This was routine. A system. His thoughts turned darker with every step. Was she selling the food? Meeting someone? Or worse, was this something bigger? Something he had completely missed? Mabel turned left. Then right. Deeper into parts of the city Adrian had never bothered to notice. The clean streets disappeared. The silence changed. And then, she slowed down. In front of a place that shouldn't have mattered. An abandoned construction site. Half-built walls. Broken fencing. Darkness swallowing everything inside. Mabel didn't hesitate. She stepped through a narrow gap and disappeared into the shadows. Adrian stopped. For the first time that night, he felt unsure, because whatever he was about to see next was no longer a guess. It was the truth, and he wasn't ready for it. Adrian stepped closer, slowly, carefully. He moved toward the gap in the broken fence and looked inside. What he saw didn't make sense. Not at first. There was no deal, no exchange, no crime, just light. A small, dim lamp glowing in the middle of the abandoned structure. And around it, people. 3 of them. Fragile. Quiet. Still. One sat against the wall, his hands covered in charcoal, drawing something carefully on the concrete. Another, a woman with crutches, was dividing food into equal portions. Precise. Fair. And the third, he just watched. His eyes locked on the entrance, like he had been waiting for her. Mabel. She stepped into the light, and everything changed. Their faces softened. Relief. Warmth. Something deeper than that. Belonging. Adrian's grip tightened on the fence. This wasn't what he expected. Not even close. Mabel removed the food from her coat, placing it gently in front of them. No rush. No fear. Like this moment mattered. Like it always had. The woman with the crutches divided everything into 4 equal parts, even though there clearly wasn't enough. And then Mabel sat down. She reached into her coat again and pulled out an old journal. Worn. Used. Important. She opened it slowly and began to read. Her voice was soft, but steady, like she had done this every night. Adrian leaned in closer. Confused. Shocked. "This is where the food was going," he whispered under his breath. No one heard him. Inside, no one even knew he was there, because in that moment, they only saw her. Then suddenly, the young man looked up. His eyes locked onto Mabel, and he said softly, "You came back." Mabel smiled. Not wide, not loud, just real. "I always come back." And in that moment, Adrian understood something he hadn't expected to feel. This wasn't theft. This was survival. This was sacrifice. And for the first time that night, he realized he had been wrong about everything. Mabel wasn't always like this. Quiet, invisible, forgotten. There was a time when she had everything. A home filled with light. Laughter that echoed through long hallways. Parents who built their life from nothing. Her father was an architect. Her mother, a woman who made every place feel like home. And Mabel, she was their world. But one night, everything ended. A crash. A phone call. Silence. Both her parents were gone, before she even understood what gone meant. And just like that, her life was handed over to someone else. Her aunt, a woman who arrived with sympathy in her voice and calculation in her eyes. At first, everything seemed fine. Mabel was fed, sheltered, taken care of. But slowly, things changed. Food became less. Kindness disappeared. And love was replaced by inconvenience. The house that belonged to her parents was no longer hers. The money vanished. Piece by piece, it was all taken. And when Mabel became too much to handle, too slow, too broken, her aunt made one final decision. She drove her to a care facility, left her at the entrance, with a single bag, and no explanation. Mabel didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because she had already learned something important. No one was coming back for her. Years passed. Pain became part of her mornings. Weakness, part of her body. But she survived. Not perfectly. Not easily. But enough. Enough to walk again. Enough to work. Enough to leave. And that's where she met them. 3 people who had also been left behind. André, the artist who stopped speaking, but never stopped drawing. He turned walls into stories, because words were no longer enough. Vera, strong, precise, unbreakable. Even with crutches, she carried more strength than anyone else in the room. She made sure everyone got equal, even when there was barely anything to share. And Tobias, the boy who forgot almost everything. Days, weeks, moments, gone. But somehow, not her. Mabel's face stayed. Her presence stayed. Like his mind had decided. She was too important to lose. When the facility closed, they had nowhere to go. No home. No system. No one waiting. So Mabel made a choice. A quiet one. The kind no one notices. Every night, she would come back. With whatever she could carry. Whatever she could take. Without being seen. Without being caught. Without taking too much. Because even then, she was thinking about someone else. Not herself. Not her pain. Not her past. Just them. And maybe, That was the truth Adrian had missed. She wasn't stealing. She was giving, even when she had nothing left. Because some people lose everything and still choose to be kind. She had nothing, but she still chose to give. The next night, everything felt the same. The same silence, the same routine. Mabel stepped into the kitchen, just like she always did. Careful, quiet. But tonight, something was different. The lights were already on. She froze. Adrian Vale sat at the table, still, waiting. The air between them, heavy. For a moment, no one spoke. Mabel didn't run, didn't explain. She just stood there, like she had been expecting this. Adrian's voice finally broke the silence. How long? No anger, no raised tone. Just one question. Mabel looked at him. Come, honest. 5 years. The words landed quietly, but they changed everything. Adrian leaned back slightly. 5 years. Of silence. Of watching. Of giving. Without being seen. Every night, he asked. She nodded. He looked at the kitchen. At the perfectly organized space he had controlled for so long. And then back at her. You could have asked, he said. For the first time, Mabel's expression shifted. Not fear. Not shame. Something deeper. If I asked, she said softly, it would have stopped being mine to give. Adrian didn't respond. Because he understood. This wasn't about food. This was about dignity. About choice. He noticed her hands. Slightly trembling. Not from fear. From weakness. You don't eat it, do you? He asked. Silence. That was his answer. She didn't deny it. She didn't need to. 5 years. Of feeding others. While she went to bed hungry. Adrian looked away. For the first time in years, he didn't have control over what he was feeling. Numbers made sense. Systems made sense. But this didn't. Guilt settled in. Heavy. Unavoidable. Because the truth was simple. He had been watching his kitchen, while she had been saving lives. And suddenly, the problem was no longer theft. It was something else. Something he couldn't ignore anymore. Something he had to fix. The next morning, Adrian didn't go to work. For the first time in years, he chose something else. The truth. By noon, he had already started digging. Records. Transactions. Property files. What began as curiosity quickly turned into something darker. The house Mabel once lived in was never lost. It was taken. Signed away. Transferred. Hidden behind names and shell accounts. Her aunt hadn't protected her. She had erased her. Adrian sat back in silence. This wasn't neglect. This was theft. Real theft. That evening, Mabel stood in the kitchen again. But this time, Adrian didn't sit in the shadows. He stood in front of her. I looked into your past, he said calmly. She didn't react. She had stopped expecting justice a long time ago. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, he continued. The house, the money, all of it. He paused, then said the words she never thought she'd hear. I want to fix this. Mabel looked at him, not with hope, but with disbelief. Why? She asked quietly. Adrian didn't hesitate. Because it's not charity, he said. It's correction. Days turned into weeks. Lawyers got involved. Documents surfaced. Truths that had been buried for years were finally seen. And one by one, everything started coming back. The house, the assets, the life that was taken. But Adrian didn't stop there. Because for him, this wasn't just about returning what was lost. It was about building something new. A place where no one would be forgotten again. A place they could finally call home. The house stood quiet again. But this time, it was filled with life. Laughter echoed through the halls. Footsteps moved freely, without fear, without waiting. André had walls to draw on. Vera had a kitchen to organize. Tobias had something his memory couldn't erase. A place that felt permanent. And Mabel, for the first time in years, she wasn't surviving. She was home. Safe. Not invisible anymore. Not forgotten. And as Adrian watched from a distance, he finally understood the truth he had missed for so long. The world called her a thief, but she was the only one who was truly giving. And maybe there's someone in your life right now, silently sacrificing, showing up without being seen. Don't ignore them.